I have a large collection of arcade games. I wonder how much money it would cost me to complete all of them if it was a real arcade. Only one way to find out. It started off as a series of shorts on the Tracy Ullman Show, evolved into its own show, and since then has been broadcasting for 31 years, over a course of 32 seasons, 687 episodes and counting. Who holds this achievement? Why, it would be The Simpsons. The Simpsons is one of the longest and highest grossing cartoons of all time. Its rude, crude and sometimes dark humour has helped solidify its place in TV history, and its legacy will be remembered, for better or worse, for decades to come. If the show ever ends. It's inevitable that when a show reaches this sort of popularity, its popularity will spill into all forms of merchandise, be it legit or counterfeit, and The Simpsons are no different. No doubt most of you have played these Simpson games at some point, or at least seen or heard of them. From the infamous ones like Bart vs. the Space Mutants, to the more loved ones like Hit and Run, and The Simpsons The Game. Chances are though, if you ask a gamer which are the best Simpsons games, one of the answers will be the 1991 Konami game, The Simpsons Arcade Game. A beat-em-up which contrasts, yet somehow complements the show's humour. You play as one of the Simpsons as you fight your way across 8 levels to save Maggie from Mr. Burns. Oh, it's no wonder she shot him. The game's attraction sequence is a faithful recreation of the show's opening, and it gives bios of the characters. They even managed to feature Lisa's famous nihilistic catchphrase.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
On the game's start, you choose which character you want to play as, being any of the main family except Maggie. Unlike other games though, your choice of character would depend on your position on the machine. With this being on MAME, we ended up playing as the power couple ready to cause chaos in America. No, not that one. There we go. The first level starts with a short sequence. Smithers is robbing a jewellery shop, and as he escapes, he collides with Homer, which causes the diamond Smithers stole to land in Maggie's mouth, with enough accuracy to make Frodo jealous. Smithers then kidnaps Maggie, rather than just yank it out her mouth, and the Simpsons give chase. The controls are super simplistic. You use the stick to move your character and one button to attack and the second to jump. A combination of the two allows for jump attacks, which vary depending on the height you jump before attacking. If two players stand next to each other, they'll begin to perform a double team attack, which is carried out by both players hitting the attack button while one player controls the direction. Level 1 takes place on the street, and it looks like an actual street. The game is good to look at too. While the intro sequences do look like they were done in MS Paint, the character models in the backgrounds are much higher quality. A downside is that everywhere is blindingly colourful, but everything is clear and the characters actually look like who they're meant to be. In the background, you will also spot several characters or locations that are featured in the show, and there's quite a few of these nods to find, as backgrounds don't repeat, so you do feel like you're travelling through the town of Springfield. My biggest issue with the graphics though, it's a small one, but it is a pet peeve of mine. The game has what I am going to call the Konami spin syndrome. Yes, the name is shit, but just go with it. What I mean by this is Konami has made some small changes to the continuity, I guess, of The Simpsons, which makes it feel a little off in authenticity. An example is the change in physics. The Simpsons is a cartoon which is set in the reality as we know it. So if a character like Homer is crushed by a car, we won't find him flattened like a pancake. In this game, however, Konami has made changes so that you can be flattened against the wall, which feels too cartoonish for The Simpsons. I know this isn't a big thing, but it's always been a pet peeve of mine when things like this happens. But that's just me. At the end of every level, you'll face a boss. The first one is a wrestler that never appeared in the show, but is as full of shit as the other bosses. I'm certain that these bosses were made with the goal of sucking money out of you. Every douchebag thing a boss can do, they do it. Interrupt your attacks, single frame counters, they tank damage, they hardly flinch, and they use iframes and deal ridiculous amount of damage to your already small health bar. They're frustrating and they are almost a guarantee you'll get a game over if you were on limited credits. At least this first boss isn't as bad as the others. Wailing on him seems to be the best strategy, even if it's going to get you killed a lot. All his one frame counters will constantly screw you over, Upon his defeat though, the level is complete and we spot Smithers escaping via Krusty Balloon with Maggie. At times you'll have to play a mini game between the levels for extra points. The first one is one of those arm killers, as you need to hammer the button as fast as you can to be the first to fill up your balloon to chase after Maggie. Ha! Tossers. Level 2 takes place in Krusty Land. In this level you get to use weapons for the first time. Weapons vary in use. A few, like the mallet, can be used as a melee weapon, but most of them are ones you either shoot or throw, like boulders, skulls, pets. Peter's not gonna like that. Each of the weapons is themed to fit the level you're playing too, which is a nice touch. With the amount of enemies that use weapons as well, it's almost like the Simpsons are starring in an ECW match. You can also find various foods in the levels which will heal you when consumed. You find these in barrels or on the floor, and you can sometimes get multiple food from a tree if you hit it enough. But only so much. You know, for a theme park that's based on a clown, I'm not seeing many clowns. Krusty turns up twice, and the rest of the enemies are either more suit goons or these mutant alien bunnies? I don't have a fuck of a clue what they are. Don't worry though, for those of you who are afraid of clowns, here's a giant monstrosity of Krusty's face to scare you, complete with creepy laugh. This Krusty Balloon from hell is also full of shit. To hurt it, you have to wail on it, but its main form of attack is to swing its arms at you. But with no wind-up animation, you can't see the attacks coming, so you're bound to get hit. If you do manage to pull off a full combo, it gets knocked away, but bounces off the wall and hits you back. Good luck avoiding this. Bastard takes up so much of the screen you won't be able to get away in time. This boss is a little better designed than the first boss though, because it actually has an attack that forces you to be evasive rather than mindlessly punch it constantly. But in our experience it only did it once. When you do defeat it though, it grows in size and crashes into the floor, sending everyone plummeting to the next level, the Discount Cemetery. This level's got my favourite music of the game. It's got a creepy jingle to it that works with the tongue-in-cheek atmosphere. Kinda reminds me of something you would hear in the old Contra games. Like the weapons, enemies are also themed. The variety of enemies can get a little stale quickly, as the most common enemy you will fight are these hired goons that occasionally have a palette swap or are equipped with a weapon of some kind. They are extremely weak and die in 1 or 2 hits, but their strength comes from their numbers. The enemies that are above them are the fatter old guys who are tougher but not by too much. The rest of the enemies in any level are themed to match the scenery. In level 1 you would be attacking people that look like townsfolk, like firemen, but then in level 2 you add Krusty and his bipedal sperm bunnies, and in level 3, wanna take a guess? Zombies! And oh look, they're doing the thriller. How original. Themed enemies tend to be the toughest enemies you fight, but most follow the behavioural pattern of the regular enemies. Get close and punch. While visually different, it often doesn't feel that much different from fighting the regular goons. Sure, they might have the occasional different attack, but the properties of the attack hardly change. At about the halfway point, there's this really dark moment, all things considered. 2 goons are running from a pack, haunting a herd of ghosts. One trips while the rest of you escape down a secret passage, and the guy is left at the mercy of the ghosts. Needless to say, he's fucked. Meanwhile, no beat 'em up is complete without a lift sequence. This is probably one of the easiest parts of the game. You can see the goons eagerly trying to jump on them, and you can attack them before they jump on to get rid of them. However, there will still be some that are able to run and jump on, and some will drop down from the ceiling. They are easily dispatched though in this case, as your hits suddenly get a power boost and they're able to knock the enemy back further than normal, so if they happen to be near the edge. It's also just dawned on me that these guys are falling off a moving lift. God knows how far they've got to fall as well. The others you can argue are unconscious, but here Homer and Marge are straight up killing people. The Simpsons just got a whole lot darker. When you reach the bottom, you fight the end level boss outside of Moe's Tavern. While the idea of visiting a bar that's under a graveyard does sound cool, that's not where Moe's is! How do you get it this wrong? The bosses are a pair of bouncers who were seen briefly in the first level. These might be the easiest bosses in the game. As you can imagine, the smaller one of the two is faster than the other. but that's really all there is to them. They do the bullshit like the other bosses have done, but they behave more like regular enemies than a boss. They don't take that much damage to kill. Quite underwhelming in all honesty. It's a real shame because the bosses can really suck the fun out of the game, and everything before fighting a boss is a lot better. Especially on the next level when you get free cleavage. Moe's bar's got some really weird visuals in it. You get free cleavage at the start, nice, we all love boobs. Then later on we see Moe tending the bar as Barney is having some sort of drunken vision. Then Maggie starts appearing on the TVs. Bleeding Gums Murphy, dressed like a pimp, treats us to some
ass, titties, ass and titties, ass, titties, titties, ass and titties.
While Ralph Wiggum crawls around them. We get a nice little Easter egg here of the Aliens arcade machine. Remember that one? But the weirdest sight here is the boss. What do you think the boss is going to be? Barney? No, he was having a drunken vision at the start. One of the mascots from Duff Gardens? That would make sense, but also no. Would you believe me if I said a crack addict? How about now? He's a bit of an odd boss, and not just because of the way he looks. He's not hard to hit, but he does occasionally abuse iframes. His attacks are limited to punching and spewing fire, but that's it. It's such a shame that all the bosses we've encountered so far have been so uninspired. I get that it's an arcade game, so they don't have to bring out the most amazing boss or game design ever, but games like Avenging Spirit and Prehistoric Isle have done so much better with the same limitations. So it's possible to make a creative boss, but no thought has gone into these bosses other than milk the player's wallet. And as a result, the bosses are so dull, yet frustrating to fight. At least so far as we've seen. We've still got another 4 levels to go, so maybe we'll be surprised? After you put the crackhead down, you escape via another secret lift and enter stage 5. But nice use of level continuity here, as the level starts with the bear that escapes Krusty Land chasing Smithers. Blinky, the three-eyed fish, arrives in the form of a usable weapon. We get to add to the kill count some more, and environmental hazards like falling boulders and bees litter the level. This is also one of the shortest levels too, or at least it felt like it. The majority of the enemies in this level are the one-hit kill suits, with the occasional Sasquatch appearing. So you fly through the level pretty quick, until you get to the boss. And maybe I spoke too soon, but this boss actually has a little thought put into it. But not much more. Funnily enough, the bear isn't your biggest issue in this boss fight. Those are. The bear itself is easy to hit and doesn't interrupt your attacks, and it hardly hurts you. The dropping boulders, however, are more likely to hit you because of how frequently they drop, and I could swear blind that they target you rather than randomly falling. When the bear starts to flash, it starts to become more aggressive and challenging. So far, this has been the best boss fight in the game. It's not just the mindless bashing of a single button, and its behaviour alters when it's almost dead. So in short, bear is good boss. As we celebrate the defeat of the bear, Maggie floats downstream and we jump in after her, only to go over a waterfall as Maggie is taken by Smithers. We wash ashore, passed out, and share a dream sequence that is level 6. This is easily the best level in the game. It has such a drastic shift in every aspect compared to the rest of the game. The bright colours have been replaced with a monochrome setting, its backgrounds are a combination of each of the characters' thoughts and desires, all the enemies are brand new, some even attack differently. The music is chaotically atmospheric, a cartoonist randomly laughs at us, Marge is secretly a sperm bunny, and some enemies are better avoided rather than fought. It stands out in every way, and it's a good refreshing section in the game. The boss is another well-designed boss too. While it does start with an unblockable cheap shot, it's a bowling ball boss that has a pattern to it and changes tactics during the fight. It starts off rolling around and trying to bounce on you. Then it grows arms where it just tries to bounce on you. And then it even goes as far as a third stage, shooting bowling pin missiles at you. Each one requires different tactics, and again, it's a boss that you can't just mindlessly bash all the way through. Hands down, best level of the game. Also one of the hardest. The entirety of the game is difficult, mainly due to the amount of enemies that swarm you. You might be able to take down a few before you get hit, but you will eventually get swarmed and you cannot take many hits at all. Health items are a rare occurrence, so you'll have to rely on your ability to evade to preserve health. But don't count on it. Every hit will really set you back, especially if you're hit multiple times by multiple enemies. After the bowling ball's defeated, the family start to wake up. Before playing the next level, you get another minigame where you have to slap your character awake for bonus points. Players are slapped awake by Mickey Mouse and the rest are slapped awake by bears. Dark joke time, this is a game where you're justified to hit a child. Level 7, back to reality, and boy does it suck. Marge and Homer have dislocated their jaws with the amount of shock they're feeling seeing that Smithers has landed at Channel 6 News. So we raid the studio during a news broadcast. Wait, where's Kent Brockman? It's a little disappointing going back to fighting the suits. However, it does feature 2 bosses and a cool level design as you fight your way through different show sets. Unfortunately, the bosses take a dive here, and it's back to mindless bashing of a single button to beat them. At least the game is picking up in quality. Shame it's the second to last level. After beating the second boss, Smithers tries to escape on his chopper, but this time we manage to grab a hold and we're flown to the nuclear power plant. So let's go beat up an old man on the verge of death. No additional enemies, it's straight to the boss room. First you need to fight Smithers. Here, the bosses have begun to pick up again in quality. Smithers, not so much, because he has no wind up to his attacks. So a lot of the times his attacks will catch you off guard as you get close or he interrupts your combo. He likes to throw bombs in either big clusters in an area or a more accurate tiny cluster at you. They aren't hard to avoid, but luck does play a part in it. Once Smithers is defeated, he blows up and then Mr. Burns comes to finish the job. Burns is the most challenging of all the bosses in the game. He has 4 different phases, each one with new methods in attack and gradually increasing in aggression. First off, he starts off in a walker. In this form he's only got 2 attacks, double punch and dropping a nuke. He tanks a fuck ton of damage and will interrupt your combo so often and so easily you're going to die quite a lot. But you can get a decent amount of hits on him before he does interrupt your attack. He also doesn't stagger, so landing a few hits then trying to move away is the best strategy, but his 1-frame counters are often going to get you as you try and run away. Once he takes enough damage, you destroy his legs and out comes Caterpillar Treads. His total attacks have now gone up to 3, his newest being missiles. With those, however, there is a split-second build-up, so you do have a better chance to avoid this attack. His next phase is replacing treads with a hovercraft skirt. In this phase, he ditches the missiles and now uses lasers instead. Again, these also have a split-second build-up, so you can avoid these. You just have to be quick. He also becomes more aggressive in this form, and he'll sometimes chain attacks in a row. His final phase, however, is where things start to get really frustrating. Beat him up enough and you knock his armor off, and he's not happy about it. Everything about him suddenly gets worse. He gets faster, and while he may be back down to 2 attacks, he chains them more often and they've been upgraded. You are going to die a lot to Mr. Burns. He's so difficult because of how fast he attacks and how much health he actually has. But with enough perseverance, determination, will, desire to save your daughter, and money, you can defeat him. And God, do you get a sadistic pleasure of watching him lie helpless on the floor. Now, I preferred when you shot him. With Burns defeated and the kids turning up after the work is done, thanks, the ending sequence plays and your mission is done. So how do you summarise a game like The Simpsons? It's good, but not great. If we look at it for what it really is, it's a game made to cash in on the success of The Simpsons, but that doesn't make it a bad game. During this era of arcade games, Konami certainly made some decent games. Difficult, but decent. As a game, it's chaotic, it's easy to play, and it's got some memorable and genuinely fun moments in it. As a Simpsons game though, it is lacking. The plot doesn't feel like something out of a Simpsons episode. Some of the character designs are off, most of the bosses are uninspired characters made by Konami, and some of its locations are out of place, in more ways than one. But like I said, it's a good game thanks to its core mechanics, even if the bosses are a pile of shit to start off. And it's easier and more chaotic with more players involved. The bosses do become fun to fight after a while, and some of the levels do stand out in their design and their content. It's just let down a bit by its mishandling of the source material. I would recommend this one to play. Its harsh difficulty is going to cost you a lot if you want to get far, but regardless of how long you play, you are going to enjoy what you do play of it. And of course, you'll enjoy it more the more players there are, just because strength in numbers makes the game easier and you can laugh together at what it is you'll see in the game. And that was the Simpsons Arcade Game. Thanks for watching, everyone. Join us next time when we will be using piracy to get some sweet, sweet booty.